And after 18 years, popping out these VVT solenoids was a bit tricky, but they did pop out nice. One of them did go flying when I did finally get it in a proper way, but that is what it is. So stay tuned for some kind of series on this engine. Good evening, viewers. We are beginning with what is the beautiful Volvo, or not even Volvo, just a 5-cylinder engine. If you're a newer car nerd or a newer generation getting into cars, the 5-cylinder engine is something you need to learn about, especially 5-cylinder turbocharged engines. So this is the compact white block from Volvo. It's a bit different than the other ones, but it's just as buildable, okay? Well, not just as, but still really good numbers we can get out of this. Now, there was nothing wrong with this engine going in. The car had to be scrapped for other reasons. I've definitely mentioned it on the forums. Maybe I'll make videos on it. I don't know how in depth I've gone. But DIY at-home cleaning, this is the best I've gotten these so far. It's not the best, but keeping it low cost. I just got with the air compressor, still cleaning this stuff off. And I'm going to get one of those green rubber finger wire wheel things so that we can really clean up all the surfaces. But everything on this engine is healthy and good. It's always been worked on by previous owners at Volvo independent specialists, Volvo Saab specialists. So I know that everything's good and the engine ran perfectly. Alright, how many times am I going to say that? And now, yeah, just this air compressor is enough, okay, for cleaning purposes. Of course, you got to charge this car all the time. Now let's come over here to the beauty dual overhead cam setup. Now you see those O-rings here? These are one of the reasons you get oil in your spark plugs on Volvo 5-cylinder engines, is because that thing we were looking at on the freezer over there is called a cam cover. Alright, I think there's a whole bunch of other names for it. It press fits on this. It's kind of tough to get off, but you can do it with normal mechanic tools. I'll go over how I did that safely. But we got the buckets and everything. And yeah, those O-rings I'm pretty sure they're for the VVT solenoids that I already took off of the cam cover. But say like on this Audi, you've got valve cover gaskets and then you've got cam girdle seals. The Volvo integrates them. So that one cover there does a whole bunch of jobs. The cams ride and it acts as a valve cover. It is just some next design, but excellent Volvo design. Okay, I'm not going to try to sound like too much of an expert on this because I will do this and we will get this done. But yeah, the PCV stuff, we can talk about that later. Won't get too boring about it. And all these O-rings are accounted for. The cams themselves, the two camshafts, I've got them wrapped in oil and 040 oil and what's that plastic wrap stuff you put your food in. They got it around that, and it's inside the house. So those are going to stay healthy and they were clean. You don't want any rust or pitting leaving those outside. Now there's a lot more I could go into detail with, but I don't want to make boring long videos, and people don't watch longer YouTube videos. Not saying I'm going to change my style completely, but for this video at least, I mean, I'm just showing you guys what's going on here. So I got to really be careful, account for all my bolts and wires. And oh, here's another thing that happened that might be worth mentioning. And you can probably see little bits on the buckets there. One thing is, when you pop this cam cover off, you're going to be excited to see what's going on underneath. But the cam cover itself will have a ton of dirt and possibly oil, so I spilled some stuff in here. So don't flip it around on top of the engine. It seems common sense, but we all do these dumb things, okay? Move away with the cam cover, okay? And then flip the cam cover. So I also degreased and washed all the plastic covers. Nothing to really see there. But yeah, upside down, you can see the engine code of the one we're working with, B52540T. And some other crazy things with the spark plugs, things that happen. We'll cover those in future videos once we tear it down, because the main thing we want to do with this engine, even though it's healthy, is timing. Of course, it doesn't need it. Timing was done 34K ago on this car. Idlers, water pump, everything, which you have to do on these. The main thing is shimming the block. Okay, we're going to see what condition the pistons are in. We're going to shim the block for sure. I mean, tearing down this far, depending on what we're doing with this engine, I don't know if we're going to just shim it or if we're going to sleeve it and put all new pistons and really go all out on it. But there's a number of options. I've been thinking of what we're going to do with this. Now, it could be a more boring result or it could be a really cool result. It's going to be a slow go, but here we are. You know, every time I feel like it, I'll grab the camera and we'll cover a couple things. But all the parts that I wanted to go over are in a bin right now. So, yeah, stay tuned, people. But just please, for the younger audience, understand 5 cylinders. Try to keep them alive. Because if synthetic fuels or water or whatever, if it becomes something, this is an engine only people who have driven will understand how smooth the power is. You can give me a 4-cylinder turbo with more power, and I'll still prefer the 5-cylinder turbo with less power on the tune. Just think about that for a second. Some of you, I think, will understand what I'm saying.